My name is Ana Carolina. I'm 29 years old and I live here in Brazil, in the interior of Minas Gerais. I'm not a pastor. I don't hold any position in the church. I'm not a leader of anything. I'm just a woman who works, pays her bills, and tries to live close to God in the way I can. But something changed in the last few months, and it wasn't a small change. It was a change that kept me awake at night, that made me cry alone in my room, that left me with a weight on my chest that hasn't gone away yet. I received a revelation. I don't know what else to call it, and this revelation wasn't about dates or pretty prophecies. It was about practical things, real things, things that most people will regret not having sought while there was still time. I tried to ignore it. I really tried, because who am I to talk about these things, right? But God wouldn't leave me in peace. Every time I prayed, it came back. Every time I opened the Bible, confirmation came. Until one night, crying, I said, "Okay, Lord, I'll talk, but you'll have to give me courage." And here I am. My voice is still trembling, but I'm obeying. Because what God has shown me isn't meant to scare me. It's meant to prepare me. And if you've made it this far, perhaps it's because He also wants to prepare you. So take a deep breath with me and come listen to what needs to be said. Because after 2026 begins, it will be too late to chase after it, and I don't want you to regret it. It all started when I felt a strange unease. You know when you can't explain it, but something inside you screams that something's wrong? That was it, only stronger, more urgent. I started having recurring dreams where I saw empty shelves, pharmacies without medicine, gas stations without fuel, people running desperately for basic things. At first, I thought it was just anxiety, something in my head. But the dreams didn't stop, and they got worse, more and more detailed, more and more real, until one night I woke up and couldn't fall back asleep. I went to the living room, lit a candle, opened the Bible, and began to pray softly. And it was there that I heard it, not with my ears, but with my spirit. A clear, firm voice, without haste. Tell my people. They will need to prepare. I froze. I was frozen because it wasn't in my head. Prepare how, Lord? I asked, trembling, and the answer came directly. Tell them what they will regret not having sought. At that moment, a list began to appear in my mind. Not just any list. It was a list of things that God was showing me would disappear, become more expensive, or become impossible to obtain. And the worst part, most of these things were within reach right now. But nobody was paying attention. I spent the rest of that night writing everything down. My hand was trembling, but I was writing, because I knew that if I didn't, I would forget. Or worse, I would think it was just my imagination. But it wasn't. I know it wasn't. Since that day, I started observing things differently, paying attention to what people do, what they buy, what they ignore. And I realized something frightening. Nobody is preparing for anything. Everyone lives as if tomorrow will be the same as today, as if nothing could change. But it will change, and it will change quickly. God showed me that 2026 will be a watershed moment, not because the world will end, but because the world as we know it will collapse. And when that happens, people will realize they had a chance, that they had time, that they had resources, but they chose to waste them on frivolity. They chose to believe that God will provide without doing their part. And look, God does provide, but He expects us to use the intelligence He gave us. He warned Noah before the flood. Joseph was told to store food before the famine. He warned Lot before the fire. God warns. He always warns. But not everyone listens. And this time, the warning is being given now. To you, to me, to those who have ears to hear, because the regret of not having prepared will be a pain that many will carry. After that night, I started receiving confirmations in ways I never expected. A sister from church came to talk to me and said, "Anna, I had a strange dream. I dreamt that you were warning people about something serious. I hadn't told anyone yet, no one." Another person, who barely knows me, stopped me on the street and said, "I don't know why, but I feel that God wants to use you to say something important." That gave me goosebumps, because I knew it wasn't a coincidence. God was confirming it. He was pushing me. He was saying, "Go on, speak up." And here I am, gathering courage to obey. Because I know many people will laugh, many people will doubt, many people will say I'm crazy or exaggerating. But I'd rather be called crazy now than see people suffering later for lack of warning. I'd rather you criticize me today than come looking for me tomorrow saying, "Why didn't you insist more?" So I'm going to speak. I'm going to say everything God commanded. I'm going to list what He showed. I'm going to give you time to react, to seek, prepare yourself. And then, the choice is yours. You can ignore it. You can mock it. You can keep it to yourself. But one thing I guarantee you, when 2026 arrives, you will remember this message. And then it will depend on you. Will you remember it with relief because you prepared yourself, or with regret because you ignored it? I'm not a prophet. I don't have revelations every day. I don't live on mysticism. I'm a normal woman who works Monday to Friday, who struggles to pay the bills, who has good days and bad days. But this morning, God chose to speak to me. And I can't pretend I didn't hear. So, in the next chapters, I'm going to share with you exactly what He showed me. I'm going to tell you about the things that will disappear, the things that will become absurdly expensive, the things that are simple today, but that will soon become rare. And this isn't for you to panic. This isn't for you to go out and buy everything in desperation. It's for you to act wisely, prudently, with faith, but also responsibly, because faith without action is dead. And God doesn't bless spiritual laziness. He wants us to trust in Him, but He also wants us to use what He has placed in our hands. Joseph kept things because God commanded him to. Noah built because God commanded him to. And us? What are we going to do? Are we going to sit idly by waiting for a miracle? Or are we going to obey and act while there's still time? I've already chosen. I'm taking action. I'm preparing. And I'm warning you. Because when everything runs out, when despair knocks on the door, you will understand. You will understand that this warning was a gift, a mercy, a last chance. And I pray that you don't let it pass. The first thing God showed me was about medicine. Basic medicine, you know? The kind everyone has at home or things they'll always find at the pharmacy. In the vision, I saw desperate people at the doors of pharmacies, huge lines, people crying because there were no more antibiotics, mothers holding sick children, unable to get anything for their fever. It wasn't a lack of money, it was a lack of the product itself. The shelves were empty. And the worst part, it wasn't just expensive medicine, it was dipyrone, it was paracetamol, it was amoxicillin, simple things that you can buy on any street corner today. I saw people offering absurd amounts for a box of pain medication. And even then, there wasn't any. Because when the crisis really hits, money loses its value. What matters is having the product in hand. And those who didn't save, who didn't prepare, will feel firsthand what it's like to need something and not have it. God also showed me that many medicines will be diverted. They will disappear from official stocks and appear on the black market, with prices that no one will be able to pay. I saw people trading food for medicine, trading gold for antibiotics, trading everything he had for a chance to save a child, a father, a mother. And you know what hurt the most? Seeing that many people could have saved beforehand, could have made a basic stockpile. But they thought it was foolish. They thought it was an exaggeration. Oh, God will provide. Yes, He will. But He also gave you the wisdom to act while there's still time. Joseph saved during the time of plenty to have in times of scarcity. And us? Are we going to do differently? So I tell you now, if you can, start putting together a kit of basic medicines. It doesn't have to be a pharmacy, but it needs to have the essentials. Painkillers, fever reducers, basic antibiotics, medicines for blood pressure, for diabetes, for the heart, what you and your family use. Save. Save while you still have it, because when it's gone, regret won't help. The second thing God showed me was even more frightening. Potable water. Yes, water. That thing we think will never run out. In the vision, I saw dry taps, empty wells, polluted rivers, and people walking kilometers in search of a liter of clean water. I'm not just talking about drought in the Northeast. I'm talking about water shortages in places that have always had it. Big cities, capitals, places where nobody imagined it. I saw people drinking dirty water because they had no choice. And then I saw the consequences. Diseases, deaths, despair. water will become more valuable than gold. And whoever has it will need to protect it, because they will try to steal it. Does it seem like an exaggeration? Then explain to me why God put this in my mind with such clarity. Why did I wake up sweating with this image engraved in my mind? It's not to scare you, it's to wake you up, because there's still time for you to prepare. Buy gallons, buy good filters, learn to purify water, save it while you can. Because when the tap runs dry, it will be too late. I've already started here at home. I have gallons stored. I have purification tablets. I have a clay water filter. And I'm going to keep preparing, because I don't want to get to 2026 and see my family thirsty without me being able to do anything. You can laugh at me now, but when the time comes, you'll remember you were warned. And then it will depend on you. Will you have water stored, or will you be desperately searching for it? God provides, yes, but He expects us to use the brain He gave us. So use it while there's still time, while you can still buy it, while it's still available in stores, because afterwards there won't be any for anyone. The third thing was food, real food. Rice, beans, oil, salt, sugar. The basics of Brazilian cuisine. God showed me supermarkets with empty shelves. It wasn't a sale day, it was a real shortage. I saw people fighting over a package of rice, pushing, shouting, hitting each other. All for food. And it wasn't just in poor areas, it was everywhere. Because when there's a shortage for everyone. I saw gigantic lines. People camping outside supermarkets waiting for trucks to arrive. And when they arrived, everything was gone in minutes. The prices I saw were absurd. A package of rice costing what an entire grocery shop costs today. And even so, people bought it. Because they had no choice. Hunger doesn't wait. Hunger doesn't negotiate. Hunger hurts. And whoever has never felt real hunger doesn't know the despair it causes. God showed me families eating once a day, children crying for food, parents not knowing what to do. And the worst part, many of these parents had money. They had bank accounts, but they didn't have food to buy. Because money doesn't fill your stomach when there's no food to sell. Joseph understood this. That's why he saved. That's why he prepared. And that's why he saved not only his family, but an entire nation. And you? What are you going to do? Are you going to wait until there's a shortage before scrambling to find something? Then listen. Start saving now. A little each month. Start building up a stockpile. Rice, beans, pasta, oil, salt, sugar, canned goods. Things that last. Things that sustain you. It doesn't have to be excessive, but it needs to be realistic. Because when scarcity comes, those who have will eat. Those who don't will go hungry. The fourth thing God showed me was fuel, and that scared me because I hadn't even thought about it before. But in the vision, I saw closed gas stations, kilometer-long lines of stopped cars, and people on foot because there simply wasn't any more gasoline. It wasn't a strike. It wasn't a protest. It was a real shortage. It's gone. There's none left. I saw ambulances stopped, abandoned delivery trucks, buses parked, everything without fuel. And then you ask me, but Anna, what am I going to do? I can't store gasoline at home. I know, but you can think about alternatives now. You can plan. Do you live far from work? Think about moving. Do you depend on a car for everything? Start creating other options. Because when there's no fuel, the world stops. Literally, nothing arrives, nothing leaves, everything freezes. And whoever hasn't thought about this before will despair later. God didn't show me this to make you panic, but to make you think. Plan. Adjust. Because wisdom isn't waiting for the crisis to arrive. It's preparing before it knocks on the door. So think about it. How are you going to manage without fuel? Do you have a plan B? Do you have an alternative? If not, start creating one now. Because 2026 is coming, and it won't ask if you're ready. It will simply arrive. And then either you hold on or you fall. And I don't want you to fall. The fifth thing was the most painful to see. Security. Not in the sense of police, in the sense of actual protection. God showed me that many houses will be invaded, not by common criminals, but by desperate people, out of hunger, out of need. I saw neighbors robbing neighbors, acquaintances forcing their way into houses. Because when hunger strikes, ethics disappear, and it's no use having a lot of things stored away if you don't know how to protect them. I saw people losing everything they had accumulated because they weren't prepared to defend themselves, and I'm not talking about violence, I'm talking about prevention, about wisdom, locking things up well, reinforcing them, not showing off, not telling everyone what you have stored away, because silence will be protection, and discretion will be survival. God showed me that those who prepare with wisdom will get through this, but those who prepare with pride will lose everything, because it's no use having things if everyone knows. It's no use storing them away if you're always telling everyone. True preparation is silent, it's humble, it's discreet, and that's what I'm doing. Storing things away, yes, but without fanfare, without posting, without telling half the world, because protection begins in silence and ends in obedience. So keep this in your heart. Prepare, but don't show off. Gather, but don't tell. Protect, but don't flaunt, because whoever shouts that they have, it will be a target, and whoever keeps it secret will be protected. The sixth thing that came in the revelation kept me awake for days: electricity. Long blackouts, not just a few hours, days, sometimes weeks. God showed me entire cities in the dark, refrigerators spoiling food, cell phones without batteries, communication cut off. Everything stopped. And it wasn't just the lack of light, it was the chaos that came with it. Because without electricity, nothing works. Banks don't open, fuel pumps don't work, markets don't sell, hospitals collapse. I saw people trying to cook with makeshift fires, burning furniture, burning whatever they could find, because the stove wouldn't work without gas or electricity. I saw entire families freezing at night, and others suffering unbearable heat during the day. Without fans, without air conditioning, without anything. The dependence we have on energy is something we will only understand when it truly fails. And it will fail. God warned me about this, and I started to prepare. I bought rechargeable flashlights, a portable battery, candles, matches. I learned to cook without electricity. I have a camping stove. I have charcoal stored away because I know it will be necessary, and it might seem crazy to you now. But when the power goes out for days, you'll understand. I've seen people offering fortunes for a flashlight, for a charged battery, for anything that would bring a little light to the darkness. Because physical darkness brings fear, it brings insecurity, and it exposes those who weren't prepared. So I tell you, don't just depend on the electrical grid. Have a plan, have alternatives, because when everything goes out, those who have light will have hope, and those who don't will be in literal and emotional darkness. Don't let that happen to you. Prepare now, while there's still time, while the stores still have it, because afterwards there won't be any for anyone. The seventh thing was so specific that I was impressed. Hygiene products, soap, hand soap, toothpaste, toilet paper, sanitary napkins, diapers. In my vision, I saw mothers crying because they didn't have diapers for their babies. Women using cloth diapers because they didn't have sanitary napkins, families without soap to wash clothes. And it may seem trivial, but when you don't have it, you realize how much you miss it. I saw people using leaves to clean themselves, washing clothes only with water, improvising everything because they had nothing else to buy, and the worst part, the prices. A pack of diapers costing what I used to pay in a month's rent. And even then, it's sold out in minutes. Because need doesn't wait. And basic dignity becomes a luxury when there is scarcity. God showed me this so I could warn you. Save. Save toilet paper. Save soap. Save toothpaste. Save everything that is basic for hygiene. You don't need to exaggerate, but you need to have it. Because this will make the difference between maintaining dignity or losing it due to lack of options. I've already started saving. When I see a sale, I buy extra. I'm building up my stock little by little. And it's not out of fear, it's out of prudence, it's out of wisdom, it's out of obedience to what God has shown me. Because He didn't give me this revelation for me to remain idle. He gave it to me so I could act. And so I could warn you, so act. By little, keep accumulating. Because when you run out, you'll be grateful you listened. And if you have young children, elderly people at home, or anyone who depends on specific products, stock up double. Because someone else's need can become your own desperation if you're not prepared. Don't let that happen. Act now. The eighth thing God showed me was something I had never thought about: seeds. Yes, seeds. To plant, to produce your own food. In the vision, I saw people trying to plant anything. In pots, in backyards, in any piece of land. But there were no seeds, because everyone had the same idea at the same time. And when that happens, it runs out quickly. I saw people paying absurd amounts for a handful of tomato seeds, lettuce seeds, anything edible. Because when you can't buy them, you need to produce them. And to produce, you need seeds. And it's no use having land, having the will, having the time, if you don't have the seeds to start with. God warned me about this. And I, who had never planted anything in my life, started to learn. I bought seeds. I learned how to store them properly so they wouldn't spoil. I started planting some things at home, to practice, to know how it works. Because when the time comes, there won't be a tutorial on YouTube. There won't be time to learn. Either you already know or you go hungry. I saw entire families eating only what they planted, and thanking God for having started earlier, because they were prepared, and I saw others dying of hunger surrounded by fertile land, because they had no seeds, they had no knowledge, they had nothing. So I implore you, don't wait for the crisis to arrive to think about this. Start now. Buy seeds. Learn to plant, even if it's in a pot, even if it's just a small thing. But learn, practice, save seeds, because self-sufficiency can be the difference between life and death in 2026. And God is warning you now, while there's still time, while there are still seeds to buy and land to use. The 9th thing was so heavy that I cried for days. Controlled medications, psychiatric medications, for anxiety, for depression, for sleep, for anything that requires a special prescription. God showed me people in withdrawal because they couldn't get their medication anymore. There were no prescriptions. There was no stock. There was nothing. I saw people freaking out, literally, because their bodies were addicted to the medication and suddenly it all stopped working. And it wasn't their fault. It was simply a lack of it. The medications disappeared. The pharmacies didn't have any more. The doctors couldn't prescribe them anymore. I saw suicides. I saw breakdowns. I saw desperate families trying to hold on to someone who was out of control due to lack of medication. And that broke my heart, because many people depend on it to live. And when it runs out, the suffering is real, it's physical, it's brutal. God showed me this so I could warn, especially those who take this type of medication. Talk to your doctor now. Try to get a reserve. Explain the situation. Some doctors will understand. Some will help you have a minimum stock. But it needs to be now, not in 2026. Because when we get there won't be doctors to treat patients. There won't be a functioning system. There won't be anything. And those who depend on it will suffer in a way that no one deserves to suffer. So if you take controlled medication or know someone who does, take action. Talk to your doctor. Look for alternatives. Save what you can. Because the lack of these medications will create a wave of psychological suffering that will be devastating. And I don't want you or someone you love to go through that. So prepare yourself while you still can, because afterwards it will be too late, and the regret of not having sought help will be a pain that has no remedy. The 10th thing God showed me completed the cycle of revelation, practical knowledge, skills, knowing how to do things with your own hands. In the vision, I saw that those who knew how to repair, plant, cook, sew, treat wounds, purify water, make fire, these people became valuable, because in a real crisis, a diploma is worthless. A title doesn't fill your stomach. A resume doesn't save lives. What saves lives is knowing how to do something. It's having practical skills. It's being able to manage when there's no one else to do it for you. I saw people exchanging services for food. I'll fix your fence if you give me a plate of food. I'll treat your wound if you give me water. Because money lost value, but skills gained. And those who didn't know how to do anything became hostages, dependent, vulnerable. God showed me this so I could learn. And so I could warn you, learn something, anything, but learn. Learn basic first aid. Learn to sew. Learn to make fire without matches. Learn to purify water. Learn to plant. Learn to cook from scratch. Because when everything falls apart, what will keep you standing is what you know how to do. Not what you have in your bank account, not your job title, not your degree. It's what your hands know how to do. It's what your mind has learned. It's what you can offer in exchange for survival. I started learning. I take online courses, I watch videos, I practice, I make mistakes, I try again. Because I don't want to be useless when the crisis hits. I don't want to depend solely on others. I want to have something to offer, something to exchange, something to help with. And you? Will you stand still waiting for someone to do it for you? Or will you learn while there's still time? This is the 10th and final thing God showed me. And perhaps it's the most important of all. After receiving all this revelation, I spent days processing it, days praying, days asking God for confirmation, because I knew that what He showed me would affect many people, and I also knew that there would be those who doubted, who criticized, who called it an exaggeration or desperation. But you know what bothered me the most? It wasn't the criticism. It was the thought that someone could hear and do nothing, because I didn't receive this to keep to myself. I received it to share, to warn, to give a chance to prepare. And if you've read this far and are still thinking, let it go, nothing will happen, then I ask you, what if it does happen? What if everything I saw comes true? What if 2026 really is the year God showed me it would be? Will you be prepared? Or will you be in the middle of the desperate crowd running after what they no longer have? Because regret won't change anything. I should have listened won't fill your stomach. It won't calm your child. It won't protect your family. What will protect you is what you do now. The decisions you make today. The actions you take while there's still time. God gave me this revelation as a gift, as a last opportunity for preparation. And I'm passing this on to you with the same spirit. It's not to create panic. It's to create awareness, to awaken, to make you get out of your comfort zone and act. Because true faith isn't about standing still, waiting for God to do everything. It's about obeying when He tells you to move. Noah had faith, but he also built the ark. Joseph had faith, but he also stored food. David had faith, but he also gathered the stones. Faith and action go hand in hand. And if you have faith, then act, prepare, seek, guard, learn, because God did His part. He warned you. Now the part that's missing is yours. Many people asked me, Anna, but how do I start? Where do I begin? I don't have the money to buy everything at once. And I understand, I didn't either. I still don't. But you know what I did? I started little by little, with what I could afford. 1 month I'd buy extra medicine. The next, a few packs of candles. Then a few kilos of rice and beans. Little by little, without rushing, but with consistency. Because what's important isn't the quantity, it's the attitude. It's about moving from passivity to obedience. You don't need to become a professional prepper. You don't need to build a bunker. You don't need to spend everything you have. But you need to start. You need to take the first step. You need to get off the couch and act. Make a list of the things I mentioned, of the things you use, of the things your family needs, and start buying little by little, within your budget. Without desperation, but with purpose. Because when you add it all up at the end of a few months, you'll see that you've managed to save much more than you imagined. And when 2026 arrives, you won't be empty-handed. You won't be in line. You won't be desperate. You will be prepared, calm, protected, because you listened and obeyed. And that's the difference between those who prepare and those who just wait. One faces the crisis with dignity. The other faces it with despair. Which one do you want to be? The choice is yours. But the time to choose is running out. So choose now and act according to your choice, because God won't do for you what He has given you the ability to do on your own. One thing God also made clear in the revelation, it's not just for you. It's for your family. It's for those you love. And if possible, it's to help those in need. Because selfish preparation will not be blessed. Saving only for yourself, thinking only of yourself, is not wisdom. It's greed. God showed me that those who prepare with a generous heart will be supernaturally protected. But those who prepare with a closed heart will lose everything in unexpected ways, because God honors those who honor others, and those who only think of themselves end up alone when they need it most. So when you save thinking, this can save my family, and it can help someone who couldn't prepare. You don't need to go around telling everyone, you don't need to announce it. But at the right time, if God shows you, you will be able to extend your hand. And that will make all the difference, because the crisis will reveal people's character, and those with a servant's heart will shine in the darkness. I'm preparing myself like that, saving for myself, but also saving so I can help, because I know there will be people in need. And if God warned me beforehand, it's because He expects me to be a channel of blessing for those who weren't warned, or who were warned but lacked the means. So prepare generously with love, with compassion. Because true preparation isn't just material, it's spiritual too. And whoever prepares their heart along with the provisions will have peace amidst the chaos, joy amidst scarcity, faith amidst despair, because they will know they are not alone, that God is in control, and that everything He did was obedience, not fear. And it is this difference that will sustain you when everything around you is crumbling. So don't prepare with fear. Prepare with faith, with wisdom, with love, and let God take care of the rest. There's one thing I need to make very clear here. Physical preparation without spiritual preparation will be useless. You can have a house full of food, medicine, water, but if your heart is empty of God, you won't have peace. You won't have protection. You won't have deliverance. Because true security doesn't come from what you hoard. It comes from whom you serve, who you obey, who you trust. God showed me materially prepared houses being destroyed, and simple houses, with almost nothing, being supernaturally protected. Do you know why? Because what makes the difference isn't the stockpile, it's the presence of God. It's obedience, it's true faith. So before you go out buying everything, kneel down, pray, ask for guidance, ask for wisdom, ask for protection. Because without God, you are vulnerable. It doesn't matter how much you have stored. It doesn't matter how much you have prepared. If God is not with you, you won't endure. You will despair. You will lose your peace. You will fall. But if God is with you, even with little, you will have everything you need. Because He multiplies, He protects, He sustains. So the first preparation you need to make is spiritual. It's repenting of what you need. It's fixing what's wrong. It's seeking His presence. After that, then yes, you act on the natural, you save, you prepare, you organize, but always with God in front, always with faith, always knowing that it is He who will deliver you, not your provisions. Because provisions are tools, but God is the protector, and without Him, no tool will work properly. So put God first, always, in everything, and let Him guide you in what to save, what to buy, what to do. One last thing before ending this chapter. Some people will criticize you. Some people will laugh at you. Some people will call you crazy, exaggerated, paranoid. Let them, because the opinions of others won't feed you when food is scarce. They won't heal you when medicine is scarce. They won't protect you when chaos comes. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to fight over this. You just need to obey. You just need to act. You just need to do your part in silence and let God speak for you. Noah was ridiculed while building the ark, until the day it started to rain. Then no one laughed anymore. Joseph was forgotten in prison, until the day famine arrived. Then everyone remembered him. Obedience may seem like madness at first, but it becomes wisdom afterward, when the results appear, when protection manifests. So don't give up because of criticism. Don't stop because of jokes. Don't back down because of other people's opinions. You know what you heard. You know what you felt. You know that God warned you, and that's enough. So keep going, steadfast, confident, obedient. Because in the end, only one thing will matter. Did you do what God commanded? If the answer is yes, you will have peace. You will have protection. You will be delivered. And when it's all over, you will look back and be grateful for having obeyed, for having acted, for having prepared yourself, because you will not have regretted it. You will have been wise. And that is the difference between those who listen and act and those who listen and ignore. We've reached the end of this message, and I need to be honest with you. My heart is heavy, because I know many will read it and do nothing. They'll find it interesting. They might even comment, but in practice, They'll continue living as if nothing had been said. And that hurts me, because I know what's coming. I saw it. I felt it. And I don't want anyone to go through it unprepared. But I also understand that everyone has their free will. Everyone chooses what to do with the warning they receive. I did my part. I delivered everything God told me to deliver. I said everything He put in my heart. Now it's up to you. It's your choice, your decision, your responsibility. You can close this message and forget about it. You can continue your normal life. You can think nothing will happen. Or you can stop now, take a deep breath, and start acting. You can make a list. You can set aside some money. You can take the first step. The difference between these two choices will determine how you will get through 2026, with dignity or with despair, with peace or with panic, with provision or with lack. And I pray from the bottom of my heart that you choose to act, that you choose to obey, that you choose to prepare, because time is running out. The months are passing quickly, and 2026 is just around the corner. Don't leave it for later. Don't postpone it. Don't ignore it, because later it may be too late, and I don't want you to regret it. I don't want you to look back and say, I had the chance, I was warned, but I did nothing. So act, now, today, while there's still time, while it's still available in stores, while you can still buy it, while you can still prepare. I want to ask you some questions, and I want you to answer them honestly, just for yourself. Nobody else needs to know. If your house's water supply ran out today, how many days' worth of water do you have in reserve? How many weeks? Or do you have nothing? If the market's closed today, how long do you have food stored? A week? A month? Or do you live day to day? If the power went out for a week today, do you have a flashlight, a candle? Is there a way to cook without electricity? Or would you be completely lost? If your child got sick today and there was no medicine at the pharmacy, do you have any at home? Do you have a basic kit, or would you have to watch them suffer without being able to do anything? If you needed to grow your own food today, do you have seeds? Do you have the knowledge? Do you have a place to plant, or do you not even know where to start? These questions aren't meant to judge you. They're meant to wake you up, to make you see where you are and where you need to get to. Because 2026 will ask these same questions, but then it won't be reflection. It will be reality. It will be necessity. It will be survival. And if you don't have the right answers, if you haven't prepared yourself, it will be too late. So answer now, honestly. And if the answers scare you, good. Because shock is the first step towards change. And it's change that will save you, that will protect your family, that will make you ready when everything begins. So don't ignore these questions. Don't gloss over them. Let them affect you. Let them bother you, move you, take you out of your comfort zone, because it is in discomfort that action is born, and it is in action that preparation is born, and it is in preparation that protection is born. Security, deliverance, so answer, and then act according to the answers you gave. There's one thing I've learned in all these months since I received the revelation. God doesn't warn to scare. He warns to protect. Every warning He gives is an act of love. It's a demonstration of care. It's proof that He doesn't want to see His children suffering unnecessarily. He warned Noah because He loved Noah. He warned Joseph because He loved Joseph. He warned Lot because He loved Lot. And He's warning you now because He loves you, because He cares about you, because He wants to see you protected. But God's love doesn't negate your responsibility. He loves you enough to warn you, but He also respects you enough to let you choose. And it's that choice that will determine your future, not the warning itself, but what you do with the warning. You can receive it with gratitude and act, or you can receive it with indifference and ignore it. And each of these choices has consequences, real consequences, consequences that you will reap in 2026. So choose wisely, choose with maturity, choose with faith, because this is not just any choice. It's a choice of life or death, of protection or vulnerability, of peace or despair. God did His part. He warned you through me, through this message, through this revelation. Now the remaining part is yours, and yours alone. No one can do it for you. No one can decide for you. You are the one who has to get up, plan, act, keep, learn, prepare. And when you do that, you will feel God's peace. You will feel that you are on the right path, that you are obeying, that you are protected, and that peace will be worth more than anything you keep, because it comes from knowing that you heard God's voice and obeyed. I wanted to finish by telling you one last thing that happened to me. It was a few weeks ago. I was praying, as I do every day, and suddenly I felt a strong presence. It wasn't fear, it was peace, a peace I had never felt before. And in the midst of that peace, I heard God's voice again. He said, "Anna, you obeyed, and for that reason you and your house will be protected, but don't stop here. Keep warning, keep speaking, because there are more people who need to hear." I cried because I understood that this mission wasn't just about delivering the message once, it was about continuing. It was about insisting. It was about not giving up on warning. And that's why I'm here. That's why I wrote all this. That's why I'm begging you to act. Because God doesn't leave me in peace. Every time I think about stopping, He reminds me of someone who hasn't heard yet, someone who still needs to be warned. And if that person is you, then thank God you've made it this far. Thank God you've read everything. Thank God you've listened. Don't waste this chance. Don't let this message be just another one you read and forgot. Let it move you. Let it transform you. Let it move you to action. Because God didn't bring you here by chance. He brought you here because He has a purpose. Because He wants to protect you. Because He loves you. And His love is extended to you now. In the form of this message, in the form of this warning, in the form of this last chance for preparation. So receive it with gratitude, with humility, with faith, and act. Because when 2026 arrives, you will be grateful. You will be grateful for having read it, for having listened, for having obeyed. And you will understand that this was one of the most important messages you have ever received in your life. So don't ignore it. Don't forget it. Don't let it pass. If you've made it this far to the last line of this message, I want to ask you something. Actually, two things. First, write in the comments, "I am ready" or "I will get ready." It's not superstition. It's not a ritual. It's just a way for you to declare, to make a commitment to yourself and to God. Because when you write, when you declare, you're moving away from passivity. You're taking a stand. You're saying, "I heard, I understood, and I will act." And this declaration has power. It has weight, because it commits you, it reminds you, it moves you to action. The second thing, share this message. Send it to someone you love, to someone in your family, to someone who needs to hear it. Because that person may not have the same spiritual sensitivity as you. They may not be seeking, they may not be paying attention. But if you send it, if you let them know, you could be the instrument God uses to save that life, to protect that family, and imagine the responsibility of not letting them know, to let someone you love enter 2026 completely unprepared, without having had the chance to listen. I don't want to carry that weight, and you shouldn't want to either, so share it, warn others, pass it on. Because this message isn't mine, it's God's, and He wants it to reach as many people as possible. So do your part. Declare it, share it, and act. Because time is running out, and every day that passes is one less day to prepare. May God bless you. May He protect you. May He give you wisdom to act. And when 2026 arrives, may you be ready, not with fear, but with faith, not with despair, but with peace, not with lack, but with provision, because you listened, you believed, and you obeyed. Amen.